Hey folks, welcome to Friendly Orbit, the podcast that draws us together no matter how far we fly. I'm Ceres, not sure what we're gonna do, girl, but I've heard it's about Zoo World, and I'm joined by.
World builder extraordinaire. It's Theia.
Hey Thea, how you doing this week?
Hey, I am doing very well and I'm excited.
What are we doing? What's the theme?
Well,
I
you
heard
remember
we're
how we
going back to
played?
Megafauna World.
Yeah. Um, so yesterday I was watching a video by
Hmm.
a very obscure YouTuber. You don't know if you know him. His name is Matt Colville.
Oh, it's the only YouTuber we ever seem to reference. I
Yes.
swear there's other YouTubers we watch.
I mean, you maybe. Uh, I am I am in a monogamous parasocial relationship
Oh,
with
I
Matt
see.
Colville, actually.
The
Yeah,
healthiest kind, really,
the
if you think
healthiest
about it.
kind. Yeah, I am. I do monogamy. I don't cheat on him with other YouTubers.
Yeah.
So, um, and he mentioned I was watching a video about the topic of the playing the D&D in the style of the West Marches,
Hmm.
and he says this: the West Marches invented by a guy named Ben Robbins, who was a game designer who also came up with other games such as Microscope and Kingdom. And then my ears shut up.
Yeah,
I was
that's
like,
funny.
"What's that other word? What's that other one?"
Oh,
So yeah,
I didn't.
turns out that this guy didn't stop at only one game.
Mm.
Turns out that he made multiple ones, and in a way, they're all the same game,
Uh-huh.
and in a way, they're not.
Uh-huh.
As in, he basically seems to really enjoy TTRPG,
Mm.
but he seems to really enjoy the idea of like, what if you could, you know, play TTRPGs like you play a normal board game where you sit down with a friend, you play for a couple of hours, and then you're done.
Yeah.
And you said that that's what you really enjoyed about Microscope.
Yeah.
So yesterday, at 10 p.m., I read through the entire manual for a game called Kingdom,
Uh-huh.
which I figured would be kind of like Microscope, but less focused on timelines and more on world building.
Yes.
And I was kind of right and kind of wrong.
Okay.
Um, but that is what we're playing today.
Sounds good.
We are playing Kingdom, and we will create a community within our fauna, megafauna world, a big community, a small community. We don't know yet, and we will watch this community go through several crises and make decisions that will shape it, and then we'll see how it all ends, whether whether our kingdom will survive or fall
Or
to the
fall
tides of
to
time,
dust like the few.
like the Fupe. They were gone too soon.
I think they were gone, actually. They made some mistakes. They left about when they deserved to.
All right. We will see if our community thrives into the future, or if they will meet their kingdom.
Ignition sequence start. Five, four, three, two, one, zero. All engine running. Liftoff.
So how does this game work?
So, how does this game work? So, in Kingdom, we are going to create a kingdom, and a kingdom in the game Kingdom means any community, really. They give examples different um, across different genres, going from
Mm.
like a kingdom can be a pharmaceutical startup in our real world. A kingdom can be a mining base on the moon with
Mm,
30 people. And the
hmm.
kingdom can be literally a medieval fantasy kingdom, and the kingdom can be an anime fan club at a high school.
Sounds
These
like
are
it
all
should be called
kingdoms.
Community.
Sounds like it should be called Community, but Community is already a sitcom.
Yeah, the hit TV show Community.
Hey, 6 seasons and a movie.
Yeah, I a lot of those seasons were very good seasons in my opinion. But yeah, sure.
It's all worth it because in season 6 they have Matt Berry, the actor who plays Laszlo in What We Do in the Shadows,
Hmm.
as to play a side character. So worth it.
Yeah, you're right. That really pays the whole thing off.
Yeah.
All right, how does this game work? We build a community together. Do we take turns again?
Yeah, this game will be generally more interactive.
Hmm.
We will be able to interact more and we'll be able to disagree more, and there will just mechanics to resolve our disagreements.
Good. Then I can
So,
preserve you from all the mistakes you were going to make.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thanks for your good patriarchal hand guiding me towards better life choices.
Yeah, just consider it like a protectorate of thought. Protecting you from the bad thoughts.
Perfect. Then protect me from this bad thought. Step one, what is your kingdom? I already kind of like had an idea
Hmm.
for what our kingdom could be.
Hmm.
So, because we have established that the world, our megafauna world, by the way, audiences, if you don't know what the fuck we're talking about, go back and listen to our megafauna microscope episodes
Yeah,
to learn about our megafauna world. Uh,
if you're not sure what Megafauna World is, the best thing for you to do is to probably look in the mirror and consider why you're such a fake fan.
yeah, who jumps in at this episode?
It's funny actually because I do have the Spotify set to recommend always the most recent episode, not the
Yeah,
first episode.
yeah,
Yeah, Megafauna World is a world we made it together playing a game of Microscope. It's kind of like D&D fantasy, except for the gods are incorporated physical, gigantic Godzilla-like beings that can cast spells and give you access to magic if you worship slash feed slash help them. And it's a world with many eras, and it gets eaten by a big giant space Galactus predator at the end. And there's also a cool phase where there's hundreds of gods, but also phases where there's less gods. And there's also a phase where we all fly around in kind of a big asteroid belt, because space
yeah.
physics don't matter in this setting, and neither does our physics matter. It is a deeply magical setting with a biological veneer. Um,
And we did genocide the Fubes.
yes, and we had a progenitor people called the Four Eyes Wide people, but then the more lore we built about them, the less wise they seemed, and in the end, they ended up being destroyed um, in a genocide. In the genocide that ended their empire. So that's a pretty dark period of the world's history, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, we kind
Um,
of made it clear that it wasn't like they were genocide because they were all exterminated, but more like they were given a chance to like coexist with the others and they refused it, and then their society was like unable to sustain itself
yeah,
in isolation, and then they collapsed in of themselves.
it's a hard world. Humans are
Yeah,
not in charge here, and by humans we mean like all the sentient, sapient little dudes in this setting are not in charge here. So they die sometimes, they go extinct sometimes.
yeah, maybe
Um,
going extinct is a better word for what happened to them.
yeah. Um,
So today
nobody helped them. Nobody helped them come extinction time. Let's just put it that way.
yeah, and they refused help. So it would have been kind of like someone who should have had like forced them into surviving.
Yeah. A
Interesting,
protectorate.
interesting pickle there. Interesting pickle there.
A
Yeah,
protectorate for their own good.
yeah. Teach them civilization.
All right.
You know.
So
So today we're picking a kingdom, and I was thinking, I know that you're a big fan of the age called the Age of Exploration.
yes.
Yes. So
Well, actually, it's called the era of exploration, but it's okay. That
I'm
you're a
sorry,
fake
I'm a
fan
fake
also.
fan too. I'm a fake
Yeah.
fan. So yeah, I am like it's before the age of floating cities.
hmm
So the era of exploration is kind of like marked by a strong separation of the world in different zones
Yeah.
due to volcanic activities that
Yeah.
produce the Crimson Rivers
Yes.
and bring upon a new infestation upon the world, the very dangerous fire spider scorpion obsidian god,
Yes.
and whatever its minions look like. I have an idea. They look like fire spider scorpions, and they're made
Hmm.
of obsidian.
Interesting. Interesting
Yeah,
take. Yeah, I feel like these are
and
like the tieflings of this setting, right? Like the
yeah,
people
and
who
much like the
worship.
tieflings, they should be killed.
Nope.
Yeah,
The fire spider obsidian god, right? I feel like her worshippers are kind of like the tieflings of this setting, where it's like there's prejudice against them because the assumption is that you're a bad person, but you don't have to be a bad person, right? 'Cause these forms, the base forms that each god gives you, is heritable. So it doesn't necessarily mean you've worshipped that god. It just means you've had ancestors who worship that god.
yeah.
Um, but yeah.
So
So do we want to do it? Do we want to do a community in the era of exploration?
yeah, I was thinking like it would be interesting to have a community, a settling community, like
Good.
I don't know, 40 to 50 people.
Yeah, I mean, it
Um,
seems good to have like a starting location to like run a few one shots from or something like that, right? You can have
yeah,
a
like a frontier place seems like the natural.
perfect.
Yeah. Uh, so where are we? I don't remember socially. Do we have we had like
Societies are integrated at this point.
are integrated already?
Yeah,
Because I don't see it in the
yeah.
timeline. Like I
If you look
believe
at
you.
column G, cell 14.
Column G, cell 14. Integration of sites across lineages into the exchange technology of many things. Okay, that's towards the end. That's towards the well, not that much the end.
It's
It's in the
actually
middle
not
of the
that
era.
far towards the end because four, um, the first 4 or 5 are all just dealing with the immediate extinction events and their aftermath. And so
All
this is
right.
like the next thing after. So like, yes, the era starts with a long period where socially not much is happening other than that people are
Mm-hmm.
dying and being split apart from one another. But then the
Mm-hmm.
next step,
Mm-hmm.
the next step that comes is integration of societies. So
Okay. Well, then at this point we have the insectoid people.
yeah,
We have the who worshiping the keratin queen.
yes, we have
Yes.
the
Yeah.
myconids who
Yes.
worship the spore queen, who is the reborn pollen queen, who
Yes.
I think is who the moss people originally derived from. So she's got
Eh,
2.
we haven't really defined that, but I mean, I think I can get behind that, especially because the mouse people feel very minor, and it makes
Yeah.
sense that they would have lost their god or something.
And it's also kind of cool because then you can do lichen people, you know, and
Yeah.
that's fun. Lichens are
When a
cool.
myconid, yeah, when a mushroom and a moss love each other very much.
Feel when a mushroom and a moss feel ambivalently symbiotic about one another.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
Have you taught your child about the about the spores and the seeds yet?
yeah, exactly. Not yet, but once they're old enough, we'll have to explain lichen bonding.
Yeah.
Um,
Dad, why am I not like the other children at school?
I was thinking we could. So yeah, we have. Sorry, is there anybody that we've missed? So there's the people of the fire spider, scorpion, obsidian god, right? Because every god in this setting has a people associated with them,
Mm-hmm.
whether there's many or few. There's the myconids, there's the moss people, there's the bug people. The few are gone at this point. It's past their last empire. I was thinking though it might be cool if we go one box after the integration of societies. The great octopus stormbird god takes pity
Hmm.
upon humans and bonds them for the first time, introducing flying magic. What if that was like the most recent change at the point in time when we plan our community? So like these people are new, and that makes them interesting because they seem like they would be good for exploration. And so I think that could be an interesting dynamic in our community. We could be like, all right, let's take a community that's on the verges, on the frontier, so to speak, and we'll do this right after the introduction of the first of the we have lovingly outside of podcasts dubbed these the squid people because they're half squid, half bird.
Yeah, the squirts.
Yes, the squids. So, do we? Does that sound
Much
good
like
to
we
you?
secretly dub the audience the floaters, but we don't have them.
That one is not true, but it would be kind of funny. Um, but how do you feel about that? Should we do our community at that point in the timeline? Does that sound good to you?
That sounds good. I wanted to kind of ask you about this. Like this world that we've made,
Uh-huh.
it feels like, I mean, we know that like humanoids don't dominate this world,
Mm-hmm.
but like, have we written, are in this era of exploration, are we going to meet new people and like new, even just like not biologically, but like culturally new people that we didn't know about? Maybe
Yeah.
societies that have like fragmented it off the original Fube, and then have had their own evolutionary thing that we haven't touched upon in our timeline yet?
Yeah.
Or
So,
are the people, because there's some like native versus colonialist thing going on that we could do, but is this the world? Is this, do we want to do that in this world?
yeah,
You know?
exactly. So I agree that any conscious people in the setting should have to come from the Fupe somehow, right? Um, like I think consciousness is a big enough step that for it to parallelly evolve in another species is kind of like lame. So these would have to be people who split off from the Fupe. And going by one of our principles, which is no settlement grows bigger than a tree, and trees are the size of mountains in our world, right?
Hmm.
Relative size wise. That would imply to me that in this world, we have covered like a tiny fraction of the world is known to like sentient species because it seems like that on the scale that these sentient species live on, right? Um,
Hmm.
like, a forest is already the size of our planet, perhaps, or the size of at least a very large continent on our planet, right? So it seems to me like in this setting, there's no way we've been to the other side of the planet or something like that, right? And that kind of makes
Hmm.
sense because we're not in charge. So those are two thoughts on that. My third thought is on the terms of like colonial versus indigenous. This is a world in which an industrial colonialist worldview kind of fundamentally doesn't work. It goes against the principle that mortals are not in charge, right? Humans are
Hmm.
not in charge. So the whole idea, from many a colonialist perspective, is to take full dominion of a geographic area and the environment there, and even the people who already live there, and to try and somehow convert them in your ordered industrial like human centric image, right?
Hmm.
And I feel like that's just a philosophy that feels implausible in this setting. Um, and so I think I would argue against it, right? I think I would argue against introducing like a colonialist versus indigenous sort of aesthetic or motif. But I think it could still be cool to find people who you've lost, right? I mean, in the era of exploration, kind of the whole point is that we used to be one big connected society. Then these crimson rivers came and broke us up all into individual islands, right? And then over time, I'm sure things are forgotten, right? And maybe the people in our frontier town, maybe not all of them know about the ancient capitals of the Fupe, right? And discovering these ancient crumbling capitals, right, out in the forest could be an interesting adventure. And similarly, reconnecting with like some group of people that now have a slightly different culture from us, but we somehow have a connected origin, right? A long
Hmm.
time ago, but we were separated by the Crimson Rivers. That feels interesting to me, but not from the perspective of like, oh, they're more technologically advanced than us, and so they're going to try and colonialize us, but maybe just more from the perspective of like, oh, here's a different people and they live life differently and they have a slightly different perspective, right?
Hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
Those are kind of my thoughts. How do you feel about that?
Well, I was just wondering about like the squirts,
Mm,
and are the squirts just going to be like uh that some of our people get to bond this new god now? Or is this going to be like a new culture, like a group of people that all have bonded with the big octopus bird, the
yeah,
storm bird, and now they exist? And now that they have, like, that we've made contact with them, they have had like a couple of centuries of isolation, maybe, or not. Maybe just like a decade, and they know about us, but we don't know about them because they used to
yeah.
be us. So now they're alien to us, but we're not alien to them.
I think, I mean, the squirts are a new religion, right?
Well, yeah, I mean,
So
this world, religion, culture, and like technology are all almost like synonymous,
exactly,
right?
right? So if I
Because
think about
worshiping
it,
the right God allows you to fly, then
yeah. So if I think about like having a new religion in a setting where religion is real, right? Um, like where religion is not having a new religion enter the scene in a setting where religion is not a matter of faith, really, right?
Mhm.
At least it's not a matter of faith in does this God exist. um, that would speak to me that there was some big visible event that happened somewhere when the first person bonded the great octopus stormbird god. And then from then on has been like a missionary spreading these ideas, right? Whatever ideological tenets come with worship of the great octopus stormbird, right? Spreading those to people because that's the only way to attain any of the squirt forms right now, right? You can't inherit them because um, it's not that old. So, so I think maybe one angle we could take on it is we have our community, uh, we have our a community on the frontier, right? And like these kind of frontier missionaries of the squirt god have been showing up more and more over the last 10 years, let's say, right? And so
Mhm.
this is a new development, and some people are very interested. Hey, if we could fly, that would be really great, and maybe some of these ideological tenets make sense for us, and it's about time that we change something about how we view things, right? And other people are like maybe a little bit more close-minded or worried, right? And they're like, I don't know about these new people coming with their new faith and they're influencing us, right?
Yes.
So we could do something like that. Does that sound cool to you, or do you have a different idea you like better?
No, I think we can do that. Can you give like a quick like summary, like one sentence summary of your idea, just so we can have that
Yeah, I mean, I guess the
in.
one sentence summary of this idea is the squirt god was bonded within the last generation and arrives in our settlement as a foreign religion spread by missionaries who are trusted by some and distrusted by others.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay. So this was a pretty long intro. We're
Yeah.
almost half an hour in. But let's start actually playing this game.
Okay.
Okay. So you can join me on Google Doc where I have
Yeah,
made a
I'm
little
in
bit
the
of
sheet.
Google Doc.
I'm
Perfect.
looking at it.
All right. So let's first we can give a brief description of what our name of what our kingdom is.
Hmm.
So I would say a new frontier settlement in the age of exploration, made of a variety of lineages.
Yeah, the one thing I would say is it's not new necessarily. It can be new. But one of the unique things about the Age of Exploration is that if the Crimson Rivers came and swept everything away to the left, right, and back of you, right, you become a frontier settlement by default, without actually, you can be an old frontier settlement. And if that's interesting to you, that might be also cool.
Oh, I mean, I think I thought it would be nice to like have a handful, take a handful of people
Mm-hmm.
in a new place,
Mm-hmm.
in a new land that
Okay.
doesn't really have a history and are still trying to figure out, their identity and who they will be, instead of being defined by like the past that they lost.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm good with that.
so a new frontier settlement in the age of exploration.
I think this is going to be interesting because we know so much about this world already before we start. I'm not
Yeah.
sure that's the intent. I'm not sure that's what Robbins intended.
I think that this should be irrelevant because the game can be played for communities in the real world, and we know a lot about the real world.
We do know a lot about the real world. That is true.
Yeah. And what if you want to play it in the 60s? Then you know the future. Yeah, we have bug people, myconids, mouse people. I wouldn't, also, by the way, these are the only people that we came up with so
Yeah.
far, but I wouldn't like exclude the idea that there might be more lineages
Yeah.
that we just haven't touched upon.
What I think is cool is to have a handful of gods in this age that you can sort of orient yourself along, that are meaningfully different from one another in outlook, that a new player can easily track. Because first off, anybody who plays in this setting is going to be new to this setting. But also, like, I feel like having a whole bunch of different gods that all are like really not that different from one another at the end of the day, kind of just makes it feel like cluttered and overwhelming, right? So I like that in this era there's a handful of gods and therefore a handful of peoples, right? And not like in the later eras where there's like hundreds of gods, right? And it's kind of just like make your own god, right? Every time you play, you would just make up your own god, you know. Uh, I like that in this era, the gods are sort of more meaningful, and there's sort of a hierarchy, or not a hierarchy, but a pantheon, a concrete pantheon of equals, right? And so I like the idea that there's five-ish major people in this setting, and that kind of lines up with what we have right now, right? Like if you have the squirts, the spider worshippers, the bug people, the moss people, and the fungus people, that would be five different peoples. And I feel like five's a good number. I mean, obviously six is also like, like we can deviate from it slightly, but I wouldn't want to invent too many more because I think it's actually a benefit in this setting to have an easy overview. I
Yeah.
obviously like five. It's a good magic number because there's always, whenever you take any one group in isolation, you can look at its two allies and its two enemies, essentially. Kind of like the whole magic philosophy of just having like five factions, right? And each one has two allies and two enemies. It's an easy way to sort of categorize a web of relationships. So I do like five, but I'm not super opposed if we want to do like six or something.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, now we have bug people, myconids, and mouse people, and myconids and mouse people are kind of like both derived from the same god.
Mm.
We have lost a few.
Yes.
So there's definitely room for more if we come up with anything.
Well, I mean, there's room for, if we want to stick to five and we can say, well, myconid and mouse people are kind of the same, then there would be room for one more, right? But if you look at it from the perspective of the gods, we have five gods already, right?
Yeah.
So if we want to stick to five, we're kind of at the limit. But if we're happy to go to six or seven, then we can keep going.
No, you're right. Because we have the octopus, the squirts,
Yeah.
and we have the fire,
Fire spider people.
spider, scorpion, obsidian people. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, fire, obsidian, scorpion, spider is the foss.
The Foss people.
Yeah.
All right.
Or if you want to anagram it, you can do the softs, the foss.
We'll do Foss.
Or
Foss
the
is easier
soft.
to say. Fire, obsidian, spider, scorpion.
Yeah.
Foss.
Perfect. Yeah. By the same naming tradition of the Fupe. Exactly. Okay. We have myconids, moss people, bug people, and Fupe and Foss.
Yeah, moss and Foss. Don't get it twisted, people.
Yeah, it's like when your campaign, you were like, we have the Fae and we have Thay. And both these words are new to you because this is your first D&D experience. Have fun. Okay. So we have a brief description. Then we need to talk threats. What are threats that will inspire us, our crossroads? So ideally, we have a nice like mix of internal and external problems. And we can, we won't have to necessarily use all of them, but it's just good to mindstorm in the beginning.
Brainstorming. All right. Here's an internal threat. Religious tensions over the different gods.
Yeah, religious tensions.
Do you have an external one?
I'm gonna say emerging, like obsidian, obsidian lava crabs from the nearby Crimson River.
Oh, okay. I thought the Crimson Rivers were dried up by now.
Really?
I didn't realize. Yeah, I thought like they came, they wiped everything clean, and now we regrow, right? Like how volcanic events eventually die down. I didn't realize that they were still around. But maybe some of them are.
If they cool down, the separation wouldn't be much of a separation.
Well, it's like, imagine like, like lava has washed away the space between you and the next city, right? Imagine you're living in a country in Europe, right? And lava washed away everything between you and the next city over for 1,000 years, and the lava dried up.
Oh, okay, so the lava dried up for 1,000 years. Like the lava was flowing for 1,000 years.
Yeah, I think the lava was there for a while, and then it went, right? And now the era of exploration is like, all right, now we can explore again because there's not lava everywhere. That was sort of what I was thinking. But we don't have to do it like that. There can be some lava rivers still left.
Yeah, I mean, where does the great villain of this era, where do their evil spawn emerge from?
They just live in the environment. I don't know. They come out of the ground when they want to.
I don't know. In this lush and green planet, I feel like the obsidian monsters of fire would probably like have their ecological optimum somewhere else.
I have another threat.
Yeah, go ahead. By the way, I only have 3 lines here, but like just move it.
All right. My next threat is a threat from outside, which is, I don't know if this is a stupid threat, but it feels fitting for this setting. The weather.
No, it feels about right. Do you want to spell it out a little bit more? Like what's the specific weather thing that is a problem? Does it rain too much? Storms? Too dry?
What is the most cinematic? I guess storms, right? Is there anything else?
Well, we can come up with with our own version of local events. You can
Yeah.
have we can have a we can you can be it can be a storm, but it can also be like a dust devils.
Kind of, yeah. They're like little tornadoes, right?
Yeah, exactly. We can have pollen devils. Well, like the little tornadoes, but it's a swarm of pollen, and you don't want to be caught by one of those.
Um, yeah.
I mean,
I
it
don't
doesn't have to
know.
be
I,
that.
I don't know if the pollen queen would do that though. Um,
Well, this is the pollen queen is gone. This is not under her control anymore. This is like wild pollen, unrestrained.
yeah, that's true.
Also, you don't.
Um,
I didn't mean to say that you should write pollen devil. It was more like an idea. Like you can come
yeah,
up
but
with your own.
I'm thinking firestorms
Cool.
because we have rivers of lava around, right?
Yes, it
So what
seems fitting.
what happens when a tornado goes through a river of lava? I think it sets on fire, and I think that's a bad thing.
That sounds like
Yeah,
it would be a bad thing.
it sounds like a bad thing, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
So these are going to be fire slash lava storms. I think there's like different versions of this, right?
Mhm.
There's like the fire nado. There's like the ash storm, right? Like kind of like a sandstorm, but it's like burning embers, right?
Yeah.
Oh, actually, maybe instead of ember, I should do ember storm then, right? Like so, it's like there's like burning embers, and then just like forest fires, which seem like they're just part of the weather in this setting. If you're going to have lava storms, you're going to have forest fires. So there's like various fire-related weather that is bad.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'm gonna write an internal one.
Good.
Fear of bug people hegemony.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
People are like the Myconids. They had their time. They had their dark age of where they were on top of everything.
Yeah.
And the mouse people, they have lost their queen, so they might be unable to create new mouse people. It's like they're slowly going extinct.
Uh huh.
And bug people are really thriving in this world because they're good at specializing in different niches. People are like, are we getting the bug people empire soon?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we have the few. We had the Myconids of the old lineages, right?
Yeah, and like we know from history that that's not what will happen, but like that is something that people would be concerned.
Yeah.
So yeah, people in this little community are afraid that the bad people will just take over and rule.
I wonder.
Yes.
You know how I like putting cities on top of dungeons? Is there any kind of like, can we do, is there an internal threat that comes from something other than social discord? Right? Like, is there an internal threat we can come up with that comes from something other than two groups in the society don't like each other and they're fighting?
Mm, well, there can
Is there
definitely. Well,
is there like a secret technology or something like that that could be a threat, or is there?
well, there could be a question that this settlement is facing. So it could be a dungeon. It could also be some ruins, and there could be tension about whether we should go in there and check out what cool things there are in that dungeon, or we
Mm,
should not go there, because what if we awaken something? What if there is something dangerous and we like lead it back to the settlement?
mm.
And I
I
think
guess that just goes back to being an external threat, right?
well, the internal but the tension would be that some people don't think that it's an internal threat. It's a threat. Some people would say no. There's more to be gained here. So there's a political internal divide about making a difficult decision.
Yeah. All right. I think that's interesting. I think that's what I'll do then. So I think I'll say there's a nearby in relative terms, right?
Mhm.
There's a nearby ruin, and some people think that we should explore it, maybe even that we should move there because it might be better sheltered.
Mm.
So that's my one.
Very well. And yeah, I want to actually kind of ask, where are we? Is this settlement going to be like, are we on top of are we on an unexplored branch of a giant tree? Are we on a mountain?
Mm.
Are are we uh are we
So
on
this is
a
the location segment. This would be moving away from the threat segment, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that we have plenty to work with by now.
All right. Can I if this is the end, I would like to modify one of your contributions.
What is it?
You said emerging obsidian lava crabs from the nearby Crimson River,
Yeah.
right? Can it be more broad than just crabs? Like, I feel like one of them, or we can just add this as an extra point, right? But I feel like one of the obvious threats of this setting is a giant monster comes through and just crushes you, right? Some
Mm-hmm.
scavenger, some medium-sized predator is interested in a lunch, right? And sees us basically as an intelligent muscle in our little city, and like anteaters us, right? Or something like that, right? Like I feel like this setting very obviously carries a threat that some kind of megafauna or even slightly smaller than megafauna is just going to wreck our entire settlement by getting hungry and finding us. And I don't know if that's kind of covered by the lava crabs or if that's more of a separate point. My gut leans it's actually more of a separate point, but I feel like that should be in there somewhere.
Well, the lava crabs feel like definitely like they're like tied to our obsidian spider scorpion queen
Yeah.
of fire. So if you want to just like talk about the general threat of just existing in this world, you can definitely put it down as a second point, I would say.
Okay. And I'm going to put down as a second point, um, we get found by hungry megafauna, right?
Yeah. A hungry predator shows up.
Yeah. Discovery
Yeah.
by a hungry predator. And I'll
Yeah.
do in brackets anteater style.
Yeah. By the
All right,
way,
cool.
the locations section
Uh-huh.
is not really about like the location of of this kingdom, but it's about
Oh, okay.
locations
Okay.
within the kingdom.
I see. I
So
see. I see.
I wanted to kind of like talk generally, where are we? So I have an idea.
Oh, okay. Pitch me. I have an
The
idea too. So.
Okay. So my idea is you know how like we have colossal trees,
Uh-huh.
and I think that it would be cool, since we have a Crimson River nearby,
Uh-huh.
if when the eruption happened like under one of these gargantuan trees, and it fell.
Yeah, that was my idea too.
And
I was like, what
now,
if this wasn't a settlement on the frontier by intention, but a settlement on the frontier by accident? You know, we were actually quite close. This is a settlement that was quite close to the home province, and then our tree fell over. And now we're unbelievably far away from the home province.
yeah, and I think that we can. I was actually thinking that this was like a tree that's like fell down and
Uh-huh.
then was discovered. So my idea was more like, we have these ruins from an ancient civilization that lived on top of the tree, and you
Uh-huh.
never knew about them. And now they fell down here. And now
I
we're like,
see.
what were they doing, 50 kilometers up in the air?
Yeah.
What were they up to? We don't know. And this tree is full of like a whole ecosystem lives in this tree that we don't know anything about. So yeah, that was my idea of a fallen tree that we have kind of like colonized. But it sounds like what you want to do is more like, we used to live in this tree. The tree fell, and now all of our stuff is broken, so we have to restart on this
So
tree.
there's a few different angles, right? The first thing, so my idea actually doesn't fully work as I described it, because if trees are the size of a mountain, right, the distance between the metropole of a society and its frontier in like our world at least, but I would say like generally speaking, is usually more than a mountain's distance away, right? So
Yes.
even though trees are impressively large, they're not large enough that walking from the top to the base of the tree wouldn't necessarily put you like in a whole different country or like
Mm.
would put you, like they're not that big.
And
So,
also we have decided that these people are not like do not live in their home place. This is
well,
a
but they
new,
live on the frontier, right? Which
yeah,
means
but
they
it's
live in
a
an
new
area
settlement.
where everyone else is far away from them, right? Like everyone else must be at least a few days travel
Yeah, yeah, no, no. But what I'm
distance.
saying is, we also established that this would not be like an old settlement that has become frontier. This is a new settlement without
Yeah.
history.
So I wonder maybe like the thing is, right? If it's just a tree that's fallen over, then you could just walk along the tree and we're like, I don't know, it's a new settlement, but the new settlement is like a day or two away from the old settlement, right? Like either way that you slice it, your version and my version, right? You're
Mhm.
only like a day or so at most of walking away from other people, right? Like I've hiked more than a mountain's length before in
Mhm.
my life in one day, right?
Mhm.
So that's not really very frontiery, right?
Yeah.
Um, so, but I was thinking, right? What do trees do? Trees float, right? What if there was like a storm or something and this tree, right? Like what if the starting people were an expedition to go find the ruins at the top of this tree, like you were talking about,
Mhm.
and then the tree broke because of the lava river and like rolled, fell, got swept along the lava river. Maybe the tree is so big that the lava river doesn't instantly immolate it, but it
Mhm.
actually like burns for a little while and then lies discarded. And now it's like, oh my gosh, we're super far away, right, from the metropole or from anywhere else where people came from. And it's kind of almost like a lost situation. It's like, well, we're stranded. I guess we have to make an outpost here,
Yeah,
right?
and
And
maybe
we tune in. Our story tunes in. I don't know, 10 years after this event or so, when the first contact with the outside world is starting to happen and the squid people are here. We're like, oh God, all right, good. Thank God the rest of the world is still alive and still exists, and we still exist, you know?
yeah.
But also, it's long enough for the people who've been born and raised here to be like, well, this isn't so bad. I like it out here on the frontier.
Yeah, and maybe we were like 1,000 people, and now we're 50. You know,
Oh God, that's so dark.
You said it's like Lost.
Yeah, but I didn't mean everyone had to die. I just
Also,
meant like,
the tree that rolled down. Like, if you were in a mountain and the mountain started to tumble down other mountains, I don't know. I think the survival rate would be pretty low.
well, but we could have an explanation for that, right? There could have been like somebody could have used their godly powers or something like that.
No, I mean it. I think it also like it's great because like were 1,000 people. We had a bunch of equipment. We were very prepared. We were not being stupid about this. And then the ground split in half. We could not have foreseen that. Now 90% of the expedition is dead. All of our equipment is gone. Everything, and now we are desperate and we cannot move. And now we're stuck here
We always gotta be so dark. It's gotta be so dark.
because we're on a mountain that rolled down the tree.
Okay, pitch, slightly different pitch. There was an ancient ruin on the tree. The tree collapsed and got swept away. We are settlers who followed the course of the Crimson River to find the ruin of where the tree is because we wanted to study it, right? And that was the original reason for building this settlement out on the frontier near these ruins, was in order to study them. So we weren't on the tree when it collapsed, right? We didn't all die, right? We're just like we always wanted to check out the ruin at the top of that tree, but then the
Mhm.
tree went away. And so, our the ancestors who founded this colony, this frontier outpost, right? These are those were originally people who wanted to go research the ruin.
I mean, I kind of liked your idea, your first idea better.
The poor people.
I'm sorry. You, you put them in a horrible situation. Then I said, yeah, probably a lot of them died, right? And you're like, what? No.
They were
How
blessed by the
cruel.
keratin goddess with
How
fire
cruel of
repellent
you,
shield.
Theia. How cruel of you, Theia, to suggest
All right.
that a tumbling mountain would kill people.
I will acquiesce. If this happened 30 years ago, and we've had a good 1.5 generations since then. And so it's like that is the history and the past that we remember. But these days, today, we're a frontier outpost with a tragic history. But we're not a bunch of shell-shocked survivors who all have immediate trauma
Oh,
of
no,
like,
for sure.
it's like, it's still sad, right? When you go to the graveyards and it's like, wow, grandma, grandpa are not here, right? And the generation that's one older, they're pretty shell-shocked. But like us 30 years later, maybe even 40 years later, right? It's like, yeah, it is sad, of course, but like it's not like I watched my family burn on the day of the disaster.
Yeah, I mean,
Is that okay?
I didn't assume that people would bring like that this originally was planned as a settlement thing. So I didn't think that people would watch their family die. I thought they would all be professionals, and now we're doing families because we're forced to be settlers.
Mm.
Like we came as archaeologists, and we turned
1,000 archaeologists, though, is that plausible?
Well, a big archaeological mission that might take several years, you need to bring a lot of professionals. You need to bring like hunters or farmers or whoever's however you provide food in this world.
Yeah, you
You need
might want to
medical
bring your
team.
family because
You need
you're
people.
not going to see them otherwise for so many years.
Okay, then the kids died. Sorry, you didn't want. Okay, you're right. You know what? You're right. I cannot. I do not have a good retort.
All right. So do we have to write that down somewhere, or do we just keep it in mind?
Nah, we just keep it in mind.
Okay. I really want to write it down though, so I'm gonna write it down somewhere.
Okay.
While you keep telling me about new stuff.
Yeah. Well, the next thing we do is we create the locations within our kingdom.
Okay.
Locations that we can use later. So, because we're only two, we will make 2 locations each.
Okay.
Because usually would be 1 location per person, but we are we always play these games wrong because we're always 2 people.
Yeah. Well.
Oh no, sorry. We make 3 locations instead of 2. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So yeah, let's take turns. I'm gonna make a location, and I'm gonna say that there is a big the main hall of the settlement, which is a room carved into the trunk of the tree.
Yeah.
To be protected from like I think the whole a lot of the buildings, especially where we keep stuff, is going to be carved into the trunk to protect ourselves from the weather.
The one thing I am forced to mention,
yes,
is the weather is mostly fire-based.
I know, but like this tree is the size of a mountain. I bet that if we keep it nice and moist, it'll be fine.
Because I was thinking we could also it could be culturally meaningful that we had to go from our ancestral tree, which betrayed us because it's flammable, and we had to learn to live amongst the rocks and the mud, for example. And we made little burrows in the ground. I imagine in my head a big scorched tree. I'm imagining in my head one of those big American pine trees, right? scorched and burnt, cracked in half. And near the crack, there's a little anthole in the ground, right, sheltered by the rocks, where people now have to live because the tree got lavaed, right? I can't
Mhm.
imagine there's that much of it left.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
if you don't like it, we don't have to do that. Do you want to hear
no.
my summary sentence of what
Yeah,
this?
sure. Give it to me.
I said I wrote an archaeological expedition plus hunters, food, retinue, family, etc. to the
Mhm.
ancient ruins on top of a tree. Go
Mhm.
to the ancient ruins on top of the tree, but then the tree fell and swept along a lava river, and we had a lost style survival situation. Although now, 40 years later, we have contact with the outside world again, and survival isn't the main objective anymore.
Yes. So that's great. And I think that the main hall will not be carved into a trunk,
Mm-hmm.
but it will be um, in it will be a cave
Mm-hmm.
underground
Mm-hmm.
with kind of like bioluminescent algae
Oh, cool.
floating, swimming in an aquifer.
Nice.
So when it rains, there's kind of like waterfalls form here
Mm-hmm.
out of because it's an aquifer, so it's collecting all the rain in here. Okay, a bioluminescent aquifer.
Awesome.
And there's going to be big ass lily pads, and that's where we hold our main. That's where we hold all of our like big community meetings. You know, this is
Yeah,
where the politics will take place.
that's awesome. All right, I love that. I love lily pads. I love us being underground. I think that is very cool. I have a location that contrasts with that. Do you want to hear it?
Yes.
All right. So because everything to do with the tree is kind of inherently unstable because it burns away a little more every time the weather comes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was thinking maybe there could be like we could have these hanging gardens, which is like this adventurous, outward-looking youth explorer kind of space, which is basically just like these gardens that are built in the branches of the tree that sort of hang over the rock, and they keep having to be rebuilt and changed. And I imagine the Foss people, the spider people who are in this settlement, they could like create webs and strands so that you can go up there and climb around and like interact with this adventurous space. And then every time one of the big storms comes through, it all needs to be rebuilt, right? And I thought that could be kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna write that down, and you can tell me what your suggestion is.
Yeah. Um, I will. I will say that we have a watchtower.
Yes, for sure, we need
We
that.
have a very tall watchtower that is a that was built out of a like synthesis of mycelium and keratin and chitin.
Oh, it's built out of our materials.
Yeah, like it's a myconid and bug people joint project.
Wow, that's pretty
And,
cool.
and it kind of like has a bit of a spiral thing because it was grown.
Uh-huh, I like that.
So it's kind of like twisty.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, so we have like this mycelial / chitinous watchtower. There's the tallest building in town, and it will serve as it does serve also as kind of like a a meetup location occasionally for for guards and military officers, for like
Yeah.
the captain of the wall and the captain of expeditions. If they want
Yeah.
to talk in private and not in the city hall, this is where they go.
All right. That makes sense. I have I think that's very cool. On my next location is also buried into the crevices between the rocks and stones and the earth, which is, I think this is the Hall of Remembrance, where all the dead are either buried or memorialized, depending on if there was anything for us to find to bury, right? Which is located deep under the main city hall, in a cavern that is equal parts mud and stone monuments and mud ground.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's great. And I will say in the mud, and like not underground necessarily, but like kind of like dug in trenches, there are the moisture pits where we do animal husbandry with
Okay.
big ass caterpillars and other kinds of like wet earther like invertebrate animals that we harvest like textile from, kind of like like silkworms.
Yeah.
And flesh, and yeah, this is like a lot of the people. A lot of people work here because this is where this is how we produce this. It's kind of like it's both like food and and what's it called? Like it's both food and like handicraft, because we produce both materials from them and we produce food from them. So the moisture pits.
All right. So there is animal. So we're not just hunter gatherers in this setting.
Well, no, I mean, okay. By human standards, we need to grow past that to have specialized roles, right?
I guess.
We don't build a watchtower for hunter gatherers usually. Of course, in this world we have magic, and we don't do
maybe hunting and gathering is just so efficient in this world.
Yeah, exactly. Hunting and gathering is very efficient, and like magic and technology is kind of like something intuitive that we don't need to like develop as a technology.
I feel fully happy with some amount of animal husbandry happening.
I mean, it's an animal world, right? I didn't say
and I just don't want it to be too much, right? Like I'd like to call it an even 50-50, right?
Yeah.
Like half of our nourishment roughly we get from animals and plants that we hold and grow from farming, and about half we get from hunting and gathering.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah.
All right. I like the moisture pits.
Wait, what's your third thing disappeared, or your second your thing?
No.
The Hall of Memory.
No, my Hall of Memory. It's been forgotten.
I'm sorry.
The Hall of Memory.
It's good that you make the Hall of Memory, because I have half a mind of having like our wall be built out of like chitin, and like the lowest, like the earliest like level layer was built with like the corpses of the bug people who died. That's the chitin we have. I'm sorry. Uncle is going to go into the wall. But
all right. Okay.
You have one more, then we're done.
I have one more. Good, because I'm running out of ideas.
So we have politics. We have hanging gardens. Like we have entertainment. We have a military. We have the dead.
Yeah.
and we have the food. One thing that we're kind of missing is religion. Hall of
That's what I was
Memory.
thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe there could be like a temple district.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and I'm wondering exactly how that would work though, because actually I think each of these temples suits itself to a completely different environment. Um,
Or it
like
could be one temple that is kind of like where they try to like fashion it to suit everyone's needs at once, because in the beginning
that
they didn't have much.
that is interesting. Also because these societies are integrated.
Yeah.
Um, and it would kind of make sense. I like that idea. I like that idea, but I still don't have really a cool idea for it. For like what kind of environment or something where the structure could be built. Do you have one? Because maybe you should just take it then.
Well, oh, well, what if
Mm,
this would be like kind of like, what if this is the one building that we have carved into the trunk of the tree, and
mm,
the holiness of the temple itself protects that part of the tree? And
mm-hmm,
because we're close to the tree, we want the tree to be like, to not catch fire because it's right next to us.
mm.
So we carved our temple into it to protect it. The rest of the tree can burn, but this bit,
Yeah, I mean,
is,
I think that's pretty cool. I think that's also pretty interesting, right? But I like the idea of these termite holes that go through the tree, right? But that actually preserve it. And protect it, and it creates an environment that's very moldable and malleable, so that you can create something perfect, right, for the Foss worshippers, right? You
Mhm.
could have an area at the top that's like fiery and exposed to the storms in the sky, right? But then for like the chitin queen, right, for the bug people, right, for the worship of their temple, you would have something deep in the heart of the trunk, right? Where the walls are impeccably carved into murals and forms, right? So I think that's a great idea. I think that works very well.
Thanks. Yeah, you can refine the details as you please. It was just, I like the idea that at least one thing would be in there.
Oh, so this gets to be my one?
I mean, it can be one of mine, but then we have
No, no, no,
fewer.
it's fine. That's awesome because I was like, I'm struggling. I don't really know what next to come up with. I was sort of bumping up against a
Yeah,
wall. So
this one
perfect.
can
This is
be.
my one.
This is yours. Like, you asked me for help. I gave you some help, and now you make of the idea what you want.
Perfect. I'll start typing it in. Do you have an idea for your next thing?
I'm done. We did three each.
Wow. Well,
I
okay.
made the
So then
city
that's
hall,
it.
I made the watchtower, and I made the moisture pits. You made the gardens, you made the hall of memory, and you made the temple.
Temple
Yeah.
District. All right, cool,
All
cool.
right.
Sorry, I wasn't just like I guess I miscounted. Yeah.
It's okay.
Um.
So let me tantalize our listeners a little bit with what will come next. Um, what will come next is that we will kind of create the people of this settlement. First, we will create categories or roles that exist in this settlement as like generic categories, and then we will actually create two main characters for us to play, who will be
Oh,
main
cool.
main shakers, and then we'll create side characters for us to play. And then at every crossroad, we will roleplay through several scenes, alternating our characters, where we will each play our main character, bouncing again either a main character or a side character of the other one in the locations that we described.
That's
Um,
awesome.
every character will wield one of three special narrative powers: the power of power, the power of clairvoyance, or as it is described here, is perspective, and
Uh-huh.
the power of touchstone. So characters can either be like the big deciders, they can be characters who decide the consequences of the decisions of power, or touchstone characters decide how the people feel in this kingdom about the decisions.
Mm.
And if there's disagreements, we might to resolve them with healthy discussions, this method called fight or fix it, or there is the mechanic of overthrow, where characters can overthrow each other from their
Damn.
roles. Yeah, and every conflict it will fight, every conflict will be can be resolved in a way that is satisfying. But players can also decide that they think that we are going too far or going down the wrong path, and then we will check the crisis box, and the crisis box carry from conflict from crossroad to crossroad. And if too many crisis boxes are checked, then we might be facing the extinction of our kingdom.
So we've done basically nothing so far.
We've done nothing. We have loosely defined. We haven't even gone through the entire setup part because the people category is still untouched. But the next episode, I think we will create our heroes, knowing us,
All right.
and then in our third episode, we will actually
We actually start playing the game. That sounds awesome, though. I like the idea of those powers.
The
Although I
game
have to
is
say,
really
I feel
fun.
like the Cersei power is the strongest one. Like, the power is power. Feels like...
I mean, the power. I mean, first, the thing is you can be overthrown. And so and then second, making the decisions is okay, but if you are perspective, you can just say, hey, I think that that's the wrong decision. The reason I think that's the wrong decision is because this is going to be the consequence of this decision. And now power doesn't have a choice other than accept that if they make that decision, then that's going to be the consequence. And if perspective is, they can overthrow perspective, but then they have to become perspective, so they lose power.
Yeah.
So the game is designed in a very elegant way. I would argue that this is a better designed game than Microscope in the sense that it poses itself a bigger challenge, and it designs clever mechanics to solve it. But probably Microscope might end up being the better game overall, just because the scope of Microscope is simpler, and this game is a little more ambitious than that. So, better design, but also more ambitious, and might end up being a worse game. I don't know. We'll find out. But that's the impression that I had.
Well, awesome. I'm going to link our current kingdom sheet after this episode, so that unlike the last Microscope episode, it's not like the whole sheet. It's just where we got as of episode 1 below. But in the meantime, I think that is all of our time for this week. So do you have any plugs?
I'm sure I'm happy that I read 100 pages yesterday between 10 and 12, instead of just reading the first 10.
You're welcome. How are you supposed to know it was a good game before you did all of that?
Yeah, exactly.
But do you have anything you want to plug?
I want to plug a movie that is getting no attention whatsoever. And I think it's a good movie, unlike most people who aren't watching it. So mark my words, Theia liked it before it was cool. So if everybody says now that it's cool, it's because of me.
Sure.
Yeah, it's called Sinners. It's a movie by Ryan Coogler, director of Creed, of Black Panther 1 and 2. He's a good director. And this movie is... I haven't seen enough of his work to say that it's his best movie, but a lot of people are saying that. And I'm inclined to say that it's believable. Sinners is a very good movie. It's a period piece. It's a period horror movie about a community of black people in Mississippi in the 1930s that kind of being shaken up by the return of two twins from Chicago, the Smokestack twins, who were raised in this community, moved to Chicago, became gangsters, made a fortune, and then came back with a lot of money to start a juke, a blues club in a community, and start to kind of giving back and help their community. But it's also a horror movie with vampires that are Irish and do Irish dancing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot to read into there. I'm going to plug the Cyberpunk Netflix TV show It's actually really good. I know it's been out for a while, and I watched it a long time ago. But I was thinking just throughout the course of the week, what was something I really enjoyed that I should plug? And I was like, man, that the Cyberpunk TV show on Netflix is really, really good. It made me very emotional at least one point. So if you feel like a capitalist society is slowly grinding you into dust, boy howdy, do I have the show for you.
The
So
thing
that's my
is,
plug for this week.
C-series, I would love to watch Cyberpunk, and I know that it's really good. I haven't watched it yet, but I already play once a week D&D, which makes me feel like that because you're DM. So I don't know if I have any more time for that.
I legitimately was falling asleep last night thinking to myself, haunted by the things that I must do to you in this campaign, which I am a little afraid to do to you in this campaign.
Well, no
I
spoilers.
was like, I kind of really got to do this thing, but it's going to be a real bummer. I was like, I can't adequately express how flawed the system is without showing you its flaws.
Well, I will brace. I will brace for it. I hope I'm not getting punished over nothing.
No, I don't think it's that, but I just think that there's I think you guys will know as well. You're kind of signing up for it. There's a mission where if you sign up for it, I think it'll be a bummer at the end, and you'll be like, yeah, maybe I should. maybe I knew that was coming.
Well, I'll listen to the mission pitches and then the one where I can think like you could really fuck us over this one. I'm like, not that one.
Let's just fuck you up emotionally, not fuck up the party materially. Anyways, that'll just about do it for episode 30
Episode
of
30.
the podcast.
Yeah.
We actually wrongly said a different episode was episode 30. This is actually episode 30, and it looks like it's going to be a multi-parter. So we're going to look like absolute fools in the other episode.
Damn fools.
However, it's great because in the final edit, basically I say episode Shmenity Shmen, and then you say, no, it's 30. And I go, really? Is it 30? And you're like, yes, it's 30. So it's fully on you.
Right.
In the way
right.
that works
You
out.
were right. It was episode Shmenity Shmen instead.
It was Shmenity Shmen.
Yeah.
Anyways.
By the way, hey, now that you mentioned like our past episodes, I think that the tidbit about Megalopolis that you shared with me was very fun. The one about Shia LaBeouf and Aubrey Plaza / Matt Platten.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna put this as a comment under that episode. But no, we can talk about it now briefly. So what we actually learned about Megalopolis is that Aubrey Plaza and Shia LaBeouf workshopped the anti-WoW incestuous sex scene together and pitched Francis Ford Coppola on it, and then he introduced it into the script. So we were in the episode, we were like, oh yeah, poor Aubrey Plaza, she had to do this. No, she chose this. She fully embraced this. This is her decision. So
we apologize to Francis Ford Coppola for that one.
And to Aubrey Plaza, I guess. We diminished your autonomy. I guess you are just I mean, I guess you really fully wanted to play a freaky, awful, nasty character.
I think Aubrey Plaza is one of those, like, in that movie, like, she gets it, she gets the role, and she plays it correctly.
I was thinking about this. I feel like she comes off the best. Like, if I was like, which actor or actress in this movie would I say Megalopolis was actually like a boost to them, into like their reputation? I'd be like, Aubrey Plaza is the one the most where I'm like, actually, the fact that she was in Megalopolis makes me want to see her in more stuff, right?
I would say that episode helped no one's reputation, but I'm inclined to agree that like Aubrey Plaza is the one that probably leaves that movie the most unscathed.
Yeah. I feel like you're right. She gets it. She gets what kind of movie she's in. The other thing that was really interesting is we talked about the Fountainhead, and although in his interviews around 2024 and stuff like that, Theia couldn't find anything where he mentions the Fountainhead as an inspiration. There are interviews from 2008 and earlier where he mentions it as an inspiration. So maybe, I don't know, it fell off of his radar or something like that. But I thought it was interesting because he said actually one of his inspirations for Caesar Catalina was Robert Moses, a city planner in New York, who is widely criticized for
a horrible person.
having
Straight up
done really
horrible
bad
person.
stuff to the city that like mainly benefited the wealthy and nobody else. But Coppola envisioned him as like an enlightened version of that. Uh, who maybe somehow did the right thing, but was still kind of the same person.
I
And
mean,
mixed with these Randy and Fountainhead characters, and there was a different character too. That they
and
said there
Julius
was a
Caesar
play.
and
Hmm?
Catalina.
Yeah. But I actually mean like there's a different Ayn Rand character who
Mm,
like invents some super steel, and the Socialist Party takes it and runs with it. And
of
they said
course
like
they do.
this seems a lot like Megalon.
Yeah.
So, anyways, um, that'll just about do it for episode 30 of the podcast. If you want more, you can find us on youtube.com/atafriendlyorbit, as well as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you happen to have any Astro Echoes you want to share with us, you can email us at atafriendlyorbit@gmail.com. All one word.
All right, series. I'll play Kingdom with you later. And to all of our fellow Voyagers, we will catch you out there amongst the stars.